This is Booked for Drama, where stories burn, hearts break, the tea is always hot and never a part two. Today we're diving into The Girl Coveted My Husband and My Fortune. Let's go. Chapter 1. During dinner, I browsed a popular forum where a trending post caught my eye. The woman funding my education is kind, but I want to marry her husband and replace her. Any foolproof methods? I clicked the top comment, create dependency. First, offer to cook and clean at her house to show you're the perfect homemaker. Then, arrange to stay overnight, say the dorms are locked. Wear something subtle. Wake up early and make breakfast. Key step. Pretend to be drunk. Cry about being alone. See if he hugs you out of pity. The manipulative advice sickened me. I looked up at Ivy Chen, the girl I sponsor, sitting across from me. She sweetly placed food on my plate. You have to try this, Mary. I should cook for you more often. She suddenly put down her chopsticks, eyes shining. My dorm has such an early curfew. Next time I clean your house, if it's late, could I stay over? I was stunned for a moment. Then I asked her, why the sudden request to stay over? I haven't heard you mention any issues with your dorm before. Besides, the guest room hasn't been tidied in a while. It might not be very comfortable for a sudden stay, said, instinctively glancing at my husband, who was eating quietly beside me. I had been sponsoring Ivy's education for 4 years, from high school through college. Whenever she'd come over for dinner in the past, she was always impeccably polite, always taking her leave right after the meal, never overstepping any boundaries. This sudden request was deeply out of character. Hearing my hesitation, Ivy immediately turned to my husband, Marcus, her expression a carefully crafted mask of grievance and dependence. Her voice was soft and pleading. Marcus, it's my new roommate. I don't think she likes me. She's always trying to exclude me, and if I get back late, they won't open the door. I really had no other choice but to ask you and Mary for help. As she spoke, she shot a timid glance back at me. Just for one night, I promise. I'll be on my best behavior. I can even help you clean the house. My suspicions lessened slightly, but I was still hesitant. It took me a moment to respond. Well, Marcus would have to agree to it as well. I tossed the decision into his court. At my words, a flicker of triumph, almost imperceptible, flashed in Ivy's eyes. She turned to my husband with an expectant look. Marcus put down his fork and knife, offering a gentle but distant smile. Ivy, if you're having problems in the dorm, you should report them to the university. Having a guest stay over unexpectedly would disrupt Mary's rest. It's not very convenient for us. His refusal was what I expected. He has always valued our privacy and my comfort above all else. Disappointment and embarrassment instantly washed over Ivy's face. She lowered her head and mumbled, I'm sorry, Marcus. I wasn't thinking. It was too much to ask. The way she acted would make anyone think I was being unreasonable. Just then, that nagging feeling of unease returned, stronger this time. Staying the night? Her reaction after being rejected? This scenario, how was it so eerily similar to the play the victim to gain sympathy after being rejected tactic predicted in that forum post? My gaze sharpened as I looked at Ivy's crestfallen face. A terrifying thought shot through my mind. Could it be? Could the person who wrote that post actually be her? But I dismissed the thought a second later. I'd watched Ivy grow up. She came from a poor family but was hardworking and ambitious. She was a simple girl. How could she possibly harbor such deep-seated malice and cunning? I was letting the internet get to me, on the verge of misjudging a helpless young woman. I was about to say something to ease the tension. Just then, Ivy, seemingly flustered by the rejection, hastily stood up to clear my plate in a gesture of appeasement. As she reached for the soup bowl in front of me, the wide sleeve of her loose-fitting blouse fell away from her arm. And in that split second, I saw it clearly. On her slender wrist was an incredibly familiar platinum bracelet. The charm was a small, elegant star and moon. It was the gift my husband had given me for my birthday last month. I had complained at the time that his taste was a bit basic, wore it only once, and then put it away in my jewelry box. Later, I couldn't find it anywhere. He just said I must have misplaced it and promised to buy me a better one next time. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. The blood in my veins seemed to freeze, my hand holding my fork hovering motionless in midair. Could it be that the bracelet was never lost at all? And now, here it was, on Ivy's wrist, hidden so carefully under her sleeve like a cherished secret. Was she really the one who wrote that post, the one who wanted to take my place? Was she and my husband? Chapter 2. The moment Ivy went to the restroom, I unlocked my phone and pulled up the forum post. The original poster had just updated it a few minutes ago. got rejected on the sleepover plan. I think the sister is getting a little suspicious, but I played the victim card perfectly, and she's a total softie. I'll find another chance soon. My heart plummeted into an icy abyss. I kept scrolling and saw several new comments. After the update, many users were even more furious. Are you psychotic? She's paying for your education, and you're plotting to steal her husband? I'm actually sick to my stomach. This isn't just an ungrateful leech, this is a black widow. Please, God, let my sister see this post. This kind of backstabbing monster deserves to burn. But the original poster showed no remorse. Instead, she replied with smug satisfaction. What do you people know? Sponsoring me is just her way of feeling superior. Why does she get to have everything just by being born, while I have to claw my way up for everything? Her husband is incredible, and she doesn't deserve him. I'm going to take away the most important thing in her life, so she can finally know what it feels like to lose something. Watching her suffer will make me happy. Just you wait. It's only a matter of time before her husband sees how amazing I am. These rich, goody two-shoes housewife types are so boring. The more I read, the colder I felt, my fingers trembling uncontrollably. At that moment, I was 100% certain. The person who wrote this was Ivy. Just as she'd said, I came from a wealthy family and had lived a charmed life. Sponsoring her was a genuine desire to help a hardworking kid change her fate. It was because of this unconditional kindness that I couldn't comprehend her darkness, her resentment, her elaborate scheme to destroy my family. This sudden betrayal was a knife to my heart, leaving me cold and aching. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain calm. Hearing the toilet flush, I quickly exited the page, locked my phone, and placed it face down on the table, struggling to compose my expression. I made a decision in an instant. I had to not only crush her ambitions but also re-evaluate this entire sponsorship relationship. Just as I steadied myself, Ivy returned from the restroom. She sat back down, her face once again adorned with that pure, innocent smile, as if the person spewing venom online wasn't her. Mary, she said sweetly, her eyes darting toward my husband. Marcus just agreed to help me with my coursework this weekend. Right here, in the study. I might be bothering you again. She looked at me expectantly, waiting for my enthusiastic approval. But now, her smile and her words sounded like a calculated provocation. Suppressing the waves of nausea and rage, I spoke in a calm voice. Ivy, I'm afraid this weekend won't work. What? The smile on Ivy's face froze, her voice involuntarily rising. She quickly realized her mistake and softened her tone. Why not, Mary? It'll just be for a little while, I won't take up too much time. I picked up a napkin and dabbed my lips, avoiding her seemingly innocent gaze. It's nothing. Marcus and I just have other plans this weekend. It's not a good time. At my words, the smile vanished completely from Ivy's face, replaced by a look of aggrieved disappointment and simmering resentment. But Marcus already promised me, she mumbled, her tone dripping with complaint. Mary, why are you suddenly changing your mind? In the past, whenever she wore that expression, I would soften and try to accommodate her requests. After all, she was the little sister I had cared for 4 years. But now, seeing her true colors, I realized what kind of viper I had been nurturing with my kindness. My heart was ice. Without looking at her, I turned to my husband. Didn't we have plans to go to that art exhibition this weekend? The tickets were so hard to get. Marcus paused for a beat, then immediately caught on, nodding in agreement. Right, we do. Ivy, we can talk about your coursework some other time. Seeing this, Ivy's expression grew even more sullen. She opened her mouth to argue. I didn't give her the chance. I picked up my bag and stood. It's getting late, and you have classes tomorrow, don't you? You should head back to school and get some rest. The driver is waiting downstairs to take you back. Without a second glance at her instantly pale face, I linked my arm through my husband's. My tone was light but firm. We'll see Ivy out. It wasn't until I was home that I opened the forum post again. A notification popped up. A thread you are following has a new reply. Ivy had updated it again. Chapter 3. She actually refused. What should I do, everyone? The plan is stalled. I have to get close to my husband. Please, I need ideas. Aside from the usual crowd of gawkers, the original user who had provided the detailed strategy reappear. Why are you so obsessed with this one guy? Can't you just find a different target? It's not like he's the only rich man in the world. Ivy's reply was immediate and agitated. No. I want him. It will only hurt her the most if I take what's hers. You should have seen her at dinner, with that condescending, holier-than-thou attitude. The way she gloated when she talked about her husband. It was disgusting. I am going to crush her. I stared at every word Ivy typed, the last embers of responsibility and warmth I felt for her completely extinguished. After that, the user didn't reply publicly. Their conversation moved to private messages. After my shower, I checked the post again and saw that Ivy had updated her status, her tone now jubilant. All set. Thanks to the master for the private message. This weekend is a go. Seeing this, I was confused. Had she taken the advice and switched targets? As I was pondering this, I noticed over a dozen missed calls and several text messages on my phone, all from Marcus. I had been so engrossed in the post that I'd completely missed them. I opened the messages and my heart sank. Marcus. Honey, what's going on? Ivy just added me on social media. She said you wanted her to come over this weekend to get help with a class project and needed to use the computer in the study. She's asking if it's okay. Marcus. Why aren't you answering your phone? She seems pretty insistent. Marcus. Look, I know she's the student you sponsor, and she's been over before, so I didn't think much of it. I replied and told her, whatever works for you is fine. I was furious. I couldn't believe Ivy's audacity going behind my back to contact my husband directly and daring to lie about my intentions. I was about to call him back when he walked through the door. In the living room, I struggled to contain my anger as I asked him why he would agree without checking with me first. Marcus looked utterly innocent and confused. Weren't you the one who always told me how sensible and hardworking she is, and that we should help her out? She said it was your idea, and she sounded urgent. Couldn't reach you, and it didn't seem like a big deal, so I just said yes. Hearing him, a mix of emotions churned inside me. For years, I had indeed painted a picture of Ivy as a diligent, grateful student. Whenever she needed a textbook or study materials, I had Marcus find the best ones for her. Whenever she needed a parent to handle minor issues at the university, I often had Marcus take care of it. Looking back, my unconditional trust and support had probably given her the confidence to be so brazen. I took a deep breath and told him everything about the forum post and everything I had discovered. As he listened, his expression darkened into a mask of cold fury. He immediately took out his phone and, right in front of me, blocked Ivy's number and all her social media profiles. I never would have added her if it wasn't for you. From now on, don't ask me to help with her problems. As for this weekend, you tell her no. I will not have any more contact with her. Now that you know what kind of person she is, you need to cut her off completely. All of it, the sponsorship, the contact, everything. I nodded. I immediately found Ivy's number and called. The moment she answered, I told her directly that the weekend was not convenient and that she was not to contact my husband again. She was stunned by my firm tone at first, but then she immediately launched into her well-rehearsed act, her voice cracking with tears. Mary, what's wrong? Did I do something? I just want to do well in my classes. I really didn't mean anything by it. I'm just so stupid, I'm falling behind, and I have no one to ask for help, so I thought of Marcus. I'm so sorry, it's all my fault. I listened to her performance coldly, completely unmoved. When she had nearly finished, I replied with a single sentence, "You've made your bed." Then I hung up. Chapter 4. After refusing Ivy's request, I thought the matter was settled, at least for a while. Then, on Friday evening, Marcus received a call from his old mentor, Professor Albright, inviting us to an academic salon at a lodge in the countryside the next day. We'd stay the night and return Sunday. Professor Albright was a man Marcus deeply respected, and this was a rare opportunity. He accepted immediately. After hanging up, he smiled at me. Perfect timing. We can relax this weekend. The professor said spouses are welcome, and the place is beautiful. I smiled and nodded, thinking the timing was indeed perfect. A great way to avoid any potential drama from Ivy. Saturday morning, we set off for the lodge. When we arrived, the environment was as serene and elegant as promised. The salon was relaxed and pleasant, attended mostly by academics and their families. However, during the afternoon break, as Marcus and I were about to take a walk by the lake, a familiar figure came running toward us, a delighted smile on her face. Marcus. Mary. What a coincidence. You're here too? It was Ivy. She was wearing a breezy sundress, looking utterly harmless. Marcus was surprised. Ivy? What are you doing here? Ivy immediately looked at me, a hint of grievance in her eyes. Didn't Mary tell you? Professor Albright is my project advisor. He invited a few of his top students to come and network. I was one of them. My stomach dropped. A powerful sense of alarm washed over me. I had forgotten Professor Albright was her advisor, but this was too much of a coincidence. I subconsciously tightened my grip on Marcus's arm. Ivy, seemingly oblivious to my wariness, continued cheerfully. This is great. Professor Albright just said we can team up for board games tonight. I'm not very good, so I was hoping I could join you too. I looked at her radiant smile, but a chill was spreading through me. Could it be? I made an excuse to use the restroom, locked the door, and opened the forum post again. It has been updated. I read through the new entries, feeling my blood turn to ice. A user had asked her for a progress report. Ivy's reply: first attempt at getting close failed. Got rejected. Another, mastermind, offered a new idea. A direct approach isn't working, so manufacture a coincidence. Figure out their schedule and show up where they're going to be. Ivy's reply: good point. I know the husband really respects his old mentor, and I think the mentor has an event this weekend. And then, the latest update, posted yesterday, got the intel. The mentor invited the husband to a salon at a lodge for the weekend. I immediately went to the professor and begged and pleaded, saying I wanted to learn and be inspired. He finally agreed to bring me along. I'll just pretend it's a total coincidence. Plan is a go. I stared at that last update, almost able to picture her smug face on the other side of the screen. I took a deep breath, pushing down my shock and anger, and walked out of the restroom. Marcus was still chatting with Ivy. She was looking up at him with eyes full of adoration, asking him questions about his work. I walked over, linked my arm firmly through my husband's, and looked at Ivy with a flawless smile. Ivy, what a shame. I don't think we'll be able to team up with you tonight. The smile on Ivy's face faltered. Oh, why not, Mary? I maintained my smile, but my tone was non-negotiable. Because your brother-in-law will be busy with me. We have some private matters to attend to as a couple. Right, honey? I gave his arm a gentle squeeze. Though he was a bit confused, he immediately nodded along. Huh? Oh, right, yes. A flash of disbelief and disappointment crossed Ivy's face, but she quickly forced another smile. Oh, I see. Well, that's okay. I'll just go ask some of the others then. I didn't look at her again, pulling Marcus away. Once we were out of earshot, I released his arm, my heart still hammering in my chest. This girl, Ivy, was absolutely relentless. Chapter 5. I asked Professor Albright if we could possibly leave early, but he warmly insisted we stay. There's an important networking session this evening. You both must attend. It's a rare gathering. I could only suppress my unease and agree. After the afternoon sessions, there was dinner and a social hour. After dinner, everyone retired to their rooms. Marcus and I were assigned 2 adjacent single rooms on the second floor. Out of respect for the academics, single rooms were the default, but couples were free to adjust. We had just put our bags down in my room and were discussing whether to go for a walk or just relax when there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and of course, it was Ivy again. She stood in the doorway, her eyes quickly darting into my room. When she saw Marcus was there, a smile bloomed on her face. Marcus, Mary, I hope I'm not disturbing you. Her voice was soft and cloying. Professor Albright said we could form teams for a game of Mafia in the lounge downstairs. Are you sure you don't want to come play? Since our coincidental meeting, she had been sticking to us like glue, constantly finding excuses to talk. I pushed down my revulsion and managed a weak smile. We're a bit tired. We were thinking of resting for a bit. You guys go have fun. Seeing my cold attitude, Ivy immediately put on a hurt expression and stepped forward, reaching for my hand. Mary, are you still mad at me? I know I was being thoughtless before, bothering you. I won't do it again, promise. Please don't be angry with me, okay? Her eyes quickly welled up with tears. A masterful performance. I pulled my hand back. I was sneering on the inside, but I couldn't be too harsh on the surface. I'm not angry. I'm just really tired. Ivy studied my expression. Seeing that I hadn't immediately shut the door, she took it as a sign of softening and pressed her advantage. Well, since you're not mad at me, tonight, could I sleep in your room? Fearing my refusal, she quickly explained. My room, the air conditioning is acting up, it's freezing. And, I'm a little scared of the dark. I can never sleep alone in a strange room. Please, just let me stay for one night? In that instant, the latest forum post I'd seen in the restroom flashed through my mind. The user advising her had written in a new comment, if getting him drunk won't work, play the victim. Find an excuse to sleep in her room. After she's asleep, you sneak out. There will be plenty of opportunities. Ivy had replied with a, got it, sticker. So, here it was. First, she feigns remorse to lower my guard, then she makes her move, proposing to share a room to execute her plan. Meeting Ivy's eyes, which were filled with innocence and pleading, an idea began to form in my mind. Since she was so determined to trample on our kindness and destroy her own future, step by painstaking step, then I would let her have a taste of the result she was so desperately scheming for. My heart was a block of ice, but my face showed a hint of reluctance. Finally, as if I couldn't refuse her, I let out a soft sigh. All right, I can't say no to you. You can come over later tonight. Really? Thank you, Mary, you're the best. Ivy was overjoyed, not expecting me to agree so easily. She chattered on with a few more flattering words. Before leaving, her steps were light and satisfied. Watching her disappear down the hall, the smile on my face turned cold. I took out my phone and scrolled through the salon's temporary group chat. Earlier that afternoon, a chubby student who had come with his professor had been complaining in the chat that his room's water heater was broken. He'd asked if anyone was willing to switch rooms or let him use their shower. I'd heard this particular student, Nathan, had a bit of a thing for Ivy, but she despised him, having privately complained to me about how creepy he was. No one had responded to him then. But now, it was time to let the scumbag deal with the snake. I was quite curious to see the look on Ivy's face when she crept out in the middle of the night, all dolled up, and slipped into what she thought was her brother-in-law's room, only to find the one person she found most repulsive. I found Nathan's contact and sent him a message. Hi, Nathan. My husband's room has plenty of hot water. Would you like to come check it out? Or, perhaps we could switch rooms? My husband is a light sleeper and was hoping for a room with a different orientation. Chapter 6. Nathan was shocked that I would offer to switch rooms. He replied almost instantly, agreeing enthusiastically, and we quickly arranged to swap keycards discreetly on the stairwell. While Ivy was still downstairs chatting with other students, we quickly moved our luggage. That evening, the salon had arranged for a casual tea party and board games. Marcus and I took some sobriety pills beforehand and, during the games, deliberately lost a few rounds, reluctantly, downing a few glasses of wine. Around 10 o'clock, the party wound down, and everyone headed back to their rooms. I stood up first and found Ivy, who was laughing with a few classmates. Ivy, I'm feeling a little dizzy, I'm going to head up. Can I have your key card? I'll get your pajamas out for you, I said, rubbing my temples wearily. A flash of irrepressible excitement and anticipation crossed Ivy's eyes. She fought to keep her lips from smiling as she quickly handed me her key card, her gaze shifting to Marcus, who was leaning on me with his eyes closed, pretending to be tipsy. Marcus, is he okay? It looks like he had too much to drink, she asked tentatively, her voice laced with a hint of glee. I gave her a helpless smile. Yeah, he's a lightweight. I'll get him back to the room to rest. Ivy nodded obediently and turned back to her friends, but I could feel her eyes following us all the way up the stairs. Once we were in the room, Marcus immediately stood up straight, sighing in relief. Pretending to be drunk is exhausting. I pulled him to a chair. Rest up. The show is about to begin. Sure enough, less than an hour later, a shrill, terrified scream pierced the silent hallway, tearing through the night. I was startled, awake. I threw on a robe and opened the door alone. The hallway was already filling up with other students and professors, all heading toward the source of the noise. Ivy was crumpled by a doorway, her clothes in disarray, a thin blanket wrapped haphazardly around her. She was sobbing hysterically, her shoulders shaking violently. The sexy lingerie she had so carefully chosen was peeking out from under the blanket. A girl was kneeling beside her, trying to comfort her. Professor Albright had also arrived, his face grim. What is going on? The moment Ivy saw me, she looked utterly ashamed, her tears flowing even harder as she cried out, Mary, sniff. I'm so sorry, I can't face you anymore. I immediately pushed through the crowd, my face a mask of shock and concern, and knelt beside her. Ivy, what's wrong? What happened? Why are you here? I deliberately glanced at the half-open door. The girl comforting her looked up, her voice filled with righteous anger. Can't you see what happened? Ivy, she was assaulted. What? I gasped. I can't believe Professor Thorne is that kind of person. He always seems so respectable. And Ivy is the student you sponsor, Mary. This is a travesty. I immediately cut off their excited chatter, my face urgent and disbelieving. I took a step forward, my eyes locked on the girl who had first made the accusation. What are you all talking about? Professor Thorne? Are you talking about my husband, Marcus? I paused for effect, looking around at the indignant crowd, and shook my head firmly. This is a misunderstanding. A huge misunderstanding. My husband would never do something like this. He's in his room right now. I started to explain. The girl beside Ivy grew even angrier, glaring at me. Mary, what are you trying to say? Are you covering for him just because he's your husband? What he did was sexual harassment. It's a serious breach of ethics. We should report this to the university immediately. He did it, and he has to take responsibility. You and Professor Thorne owe Ivy an explanation. Ivy played her part perfectly, breaking into loud sobs. She wiped at her tears, her shoulders heaving, looking fragile and pitiful. I didn't want to believe Marcus would do this either, but he pushed me against the wall. I couldn't get away, he said, just one hug, that no one would know, sniff. The crowd rushed to comfort her, their gazes turning accusatory toward me. But I, as if finally provoked beyond reason, turned on Ivy, my voice rising. Ivy, don't you dare make false accusations. The person in that room is not my husband. Mary, you of all people should know how damaging something like this is for a woman, one of the girls said angrily, then turned to Ivy. Ivy, we should just tell Professor Albright. Let the university handle this. Watching this unfold, I suddenly laughed, crossing my arms and leaning back against the wall. Fine by me. Let's get Professor Albright over here to watch this little drama. Because whatever happened has absolutely nothing to do with my husband or me. The person in that room is not Marcus Thorne. The girl beside Ivy shot me a death glare, still trying to deny it. Everyone knows this room was assigned to Professor Thorne. If it's not him in there, then who is it? I was about to retort when a familiar voice came from the other end of the hall. What's going on? Why is it so loud? It was my husband, Marcus, dressed neatly in his pajamas and a robe, striding quickly toward us. His appearance stunned everyone into silence. Ivy's sobs died in her throat. Her eyes widened, her face instantly draining of all color. The girl who had been her staunchest defender stood with her mouth agape, in total disbelief. Everyone looked from Marcus to the closed door and back again, their faces a canvas of confusion. Marcus came to my side, naturally putting an arm around my shoulder. What's wrong? What happened? He asked with concern. I looked at him and shook my head slightly. Someone is claiming you were in that room, doing inappropriate things to Ivy. Marcus's face hardened instantly, his eyes sweeping over the crowd. That is absolutely ridiculous. Just then, the door that had been shut tight creaked open a crack. A chubby, sleepy head poked out. What's all the racket? He grumbled. Are you trying to wake the dead? What's with all the noise outside my door in the middle of the night? It was Nathan. He was rubbing his eyes, completely oblivious to the fact that he was the star of the show. At that moment, every expression in the hallway froze. Ivy's face went from white to a sickly green. Her entire body was trembling. The girl who had been her champion was speechless, lowering her head in embarrassment. Whispers broke out among the others. Professor Albright finally arrived, demanding sternly, "What in the world is going on here?" Chapter 7. Ivy was completely frozen, the tears forgotten on her cheeks. I gave a sarcastic smile, my gaze sweeping over everyone present. Like I said, the person in that room is not my husband. My husband and Nathan switched rooms this afternoon. Professor, if you need confirmation, you can check the records at the front desk. At these words, Ivy's face turned sheet white. Her body began to shake violently, as if all her strength had been drained away. Several of the female students looked at Nathan with strange expressions. Nathan was notorious among his peers for being slovenly and unkempt, and it was well known that he had one-sided crush on Ivy. He'd often tried to flirt with her, but she found him repulsive and had complained to me about him in private. Now, they looked at Ivy with a complex mix of pity and secondhand embarrassment. Ivy was in a state of shock, too stunned to even cry. The realization of who she had been with, the sight of Nathan with his sleep-mussed hair and rumpled pajamas, made her stomach churn. She gagged, retching dryly. The crowd fell into an awkward silence. Only I stepped forward, my face a perfect picture of shock and outrage, pointing an accusatory finger at Nathan. Nathan, how could you do this? How could you force yourself on Ivy and ruin her reputation? Do you have any idea the psychological damage you've caused? You have to take responsibility for her. She wanted someone to be held responsible? Fine, let Nathan be responsible. The moment I finished, Ivy's face turned a shade of livid green, as if she'd heard the most horrifying thing in the world. She was already disgusted by the sight of Nathan, now she shook her head violently, screaming, "No. I don't want him to be responsible. Nothing happened between us. Nothing." I sneered internally but kept my face a mask of anger and confusion. "He did this to you. ruined your honor and you don't want him to be responsible? I think we should call the police. Scum like him belong in jail. And then he should have to compensate you for your suffering. Nathan had finally pieced together what was happening. His beady eyes darted around, lingering on Ivy's disheveled state. Suddenly, as if a thought struck him, his eyes narrowed, and a sleazy, triumphant smile spread across his face. What force? What responsibility? Don't you go slandering an innocent man. It was Ivy who came to me. I was sound asleep, and she just let herself into my room and jumped on me. I thought. He didn't finish, but his meaning was clear. The scene descended into an excruciatingly awkward silence. Some people looked away, mortified. Others looked at Ivy with growing suspicion. A male student tried to meditate. Nathan, regardless, this has gotten out of hand. You owe Ivy an explanation. As for how to handle it, you can discuss it privately, or let the university deal with it. Nathan actually chuckled, scratching his messy hair, his gaze greedily raking over Ivy. Fine by me. Responsibility is. Ivy, how about, you be my girlfriend? I promise I'll treat you right. He even tried to step forward and grab her. Ivy's face contorted as if she had been mortally insulted. She let out a piercing shriek. Get away from me. Who would want to be your girlfriend? You're disgusting. I don't need you to be responsible. Nothing happened between us. Get away. She shoved his outstretched hand away as if he were carrying a plague. The others quickly intervened, holding Nathan back and shielding the hysterical Ivy. The girl who had initially defended Ivy looked incredibly embarrassed but still said through clenched teeth, "Let's call the police. This has to be handled by the police. This is just awful." She had just taken out her phone when Ivy lunged forward and grabbed her wrist. Don't call the police. No police. Ivy's face was ashen, her forehead dotted with cold sweat. Her voice was thin with terror. Nothing happened between us. Let's just drop it. I won't press charges. I'm begging you. But now Nathan wouldn't let it go. He stuck his neck out. Hey, a minute ago you wanted me to be responsible. Now you don't? Come on, Ivy, after all that, you might as well just be with me. I mean, shut up. Ivy was trembling with rage, cutting him off with a scream. You're lying. We didn't have sex. Nothing happened. Everyone was completely bewildered by her flip-flopping. 1 minute, she was a devastated victim. The next, she was insisting nothing happened and refusing to involve the police. I looked at Ivy, who was on the verge of a complete breakdown, and pressed my advantage, my voice cold. Ivy, which story is the truth? If nothing happened, then what was all that crying and accusing my husband about? Weren't you the one who said you were forced, that you couldn't fight back, that you needed him to be responsible? How is it that when the man in question is Nathan, you suddenly change your story and won't ever call the police? The penny finally dropped for everyone. They all turned to look at Ivy with expressions of doubt and scrutiny. Ivy bit her lip so hard it was a wonder it didn't bleed. She was shaking from head to toe, unable to offer a single word of defense, her eyes filled with panic and despair. In the next second, I tore away her final pretense, my voice ringing out, ice cold, in the silent hallway. Ivy, don't tell me you staged this whole thing from the beginning, hoping to frame my husband and force him to take responsibility for you. Chapter 8. I didn't, Ivy shrieked back, her eyes wild with panic. I continued to dismantle her lies, step by step, my voice like ice. Really? Then how do you explain your performance, which was full of holes? Why is it that when the perpetrator went from being my husband to being Nathan, you suddenly didn't need him to be responsible? You wouldn't even call the police? I think it's best we let the police figure this out. If you won't tell the truth, let the evidence speak for itself. I, for one, would love to know what kind of filthy scheme you were cooking up. Ivy lunged at me, trying to stop me, but I had already dialed 911. The police arrived quickly and reviewed the hotel's hallway security footage. The students and professors who were present were rendered speechless after hearing the initial findings. The footage clearly showed Ivy using her own keycard to open the door. There was no sign of force or a break-in. Furthermore, in her attempt not to wake the man she thought was my husband, she never turned on the lights, and therefore never confirmed who was actually in the bed. Worried about losing her chance, she had followed the strategy from the forum, hastily messing up her hair and clothes, composing herself for a moment, and then launching into her tearful performance. In truth, I already knew all of this from the forum post. Ivy had been giving a near real-time report in the comments, asking for advice on the specific details of her performance. The other students gasped, looking at Ivy with a mixture of contempt and fear. After Ivy was questioned and emerged from the temporary interview room, I walked up to her and slapped her hard across the face. I unleashed all the anger, disappointment, and pain of betrayal that had been building up for days. I was trembling with rage. Ivy, you make me sick. I sponsored you for 4 years, paid for your education, and this is how you repay me. What did I ever do to you that made you plot against me, to try and destroy my family? I finally asked the question that had been tormenting me. Even though I already knew the answer from her jealous, twisted posts, I wanted to hear it from her own lips. Ivy clutched her cheek, her initial disbelief twisting into a crazed laugh, her smile dripping with venom. Why? There is no why. I chose you because you were rich and stupid, of course. You rich girls who live in your perfect little bubbles are so naive and dumb. If I had succeeded, everything you have would have been mine. This was just an accident. If it wasn't for that disgusting Nathan ruining things, I would have won. She continued to curse me. Her venom didn't touch me. Having my answer only strengthened my resolve. Since she felt no remorse, I would show no mercy. I stepped closer, staring into her eyes, and said, word by word, is that so? Too bad for you, your curses will never come true. Ivy, my life will only get better, while you will be stuck in the mud forever. That forum post of yours? I saw it all, from the very beginning. Every single thing you did, every word you wrote, I have the screenshots. I will be suing you for the return of every penny I ever gave you, as well as for slander and malicious entrapment. I will make sure the university, everyone you know, and everyone you might ever try to deceive, knows exactly what you did. I will see you abandoned, disgraced, and paying the price for every single one of your actions. Hearing the word, post, Ivy's body went rigid. Her eyes widened as she stared at me, the realization dawning on her. So you knew all along? None of this was an accident? You set this up? I had no desire to waste another breath on her. I turned to leave. She suddenly lunged at me like a feral animal, her nails aimed at my face. I sidestepped smoothly and, without a shred of pity, kicked her to the ground. I stood over her, looking down. Yes, I did. So what? Ivy, you brought all of this on yourself. You got what you deserved. The next day, I compiled everything from the forum post, all her planning, her updates, her vile comments into a detailed document. I sent this document to her university advisor, the dean of her department, Professor Albright, and everyone in our shared social circle. The image she had so carefully crafted of a hardworking, ambitious, pure-hearted girl shattered complete. The university acted swiftly, imposing severe disciplinary sanctions. Her scholarships and honors were revoked, casting a dark shadow over her future. I also had my lawyer formally serve her with a letter demanding the full repayment of the 4 years of sponsorship funds, reserving the right to pursue further legal action. Faced with irrefutable evidence and immense pressure, her family scraped together the money to repay most of the funds. The story spread like wildfire through our university and hometown circles. She was socially crucified, an outcast that everyone avoided. A week later, Ivy officially withdrew from the university, disappearing from our lives for good. Chapter 9. Afterward, my life returned to its usual peaceful rhythm. I found myself back at my alma mater, which was also Ivy's. The university president and the head of the Scholarship Foundation received me warmly, their words a mix of consolation and genuine admiration for my decision to continue my donations. As I signed my name on the donation agreement for the Dawnlight Scholarship, I didn't hesitate. The president said with emotion, "Mrs. Thorne, after what you went through, to see you hold fast to your original intentions are truly admirable. We will be absolutely rigorous in our selection process to ensure that every dollar goes to a student of outstanding character who truly understands gratitude." I smiled and looked out the window at the vibrant, clear-eyed students on the campus green. "President, you know, for a while I wavered. I had my doubts. But then I came to a realization. You can't let one ungrateful person negate all the other souls who are struggling but still striving, still dreaming. The vast majority of them are good kids, filled with kindness and hope. They deserve a chance. And I am in a position to give them that chance. In itself, that is a source of profound happiness. I will continue to sponsor talented students from underprivileged backgrounds, but I have learned to maintain a healthier distance. I firmly believe this. The world may wound me with its pain, but I will answer with a song. Not because the world is worthy, but because I choose to be the kind of person who is. The end. And that's a wrap on today's reading here at Booked for Drama. If you felt anything, rage, swoon, secondhand heartbreak, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow drama lovers. If you have any requests, drop them in the comments. Until next time, keep reading, and keep the drama on the page.